Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Television and Radio Talk Show. You can find us on television, and that's on Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. Terri, I don't know if you know this or not, but we're on the radio now. WZLA,
Yay.
Biggest country station in South Carolina. They are huge.
Okay.
WZLA, 92.9 FM. And we're so proud to be part of that network as well. Got some more things I'm working on and can't tell you about them yet. We're going to have to wait. One is in Alabama. So we're going to have to wait until we get this handled. But anyway, thank you again so much for watching. Continue sending email, by the way, Donna at donnasedge.com, Donna at donnasedge.com. I've got my friend Terri LaPoint with me right now. And Terri and I go back a little ways. Terri was absolutely in the media business as well. And so let's talk a little bit about your background for the viewers who are looking at you and watching you for the very first time. But I want to talk about being in the media. Media people just know each other, you know?
Well, I've always enjoyed talk shows. I loved listening to talk shows and finding out information and finding out perspectives that you wouldn't see on the TV news a lot of times. And so I would love to pursue the facts and research. I have a brain wired for research. I love that. So, but I called myself now an accidental journalist. I accidentally got involved. I was a homeschool mom and labor doula, working with moms and families, breastfeeding advocate, educator. And I just started doing a little writing on the side and loved it. And the deeper I got, I started seeing some stories of Child Protective Services coming after a family for a medical disagreement and taking their child. And I thought, this is crazy. This can't be, this is not American. This is not who we are. What's going on? And I found another story, and then I was invited to become a part of Health Impact News's, they were starting a website, a news site called medicalkidnap.com, and they asked me to come in and investigate stories. And I said, yes, because I want to know what's going on. So my passion for truth and knowing what's really going on was the impetus behind that. And so that's how I became a journalist. And then I became the lead investigative journalist on that subject. And I don't know if even to this day, if there's a journalist who has covered as many of those stories as I have. It was very intensive. So, yeah.
You're an author and a speaker too. As a matter of fact, you've written a book about one incident. And we'll talk about that for just a couple of minutes.
Okay. Voices That Will Not Be Silenced, a grandmother that I met in Washington, D.C. when I started going to talk to lawmakers about what the things that I was seeing. And I met her and ended up covering her story. Hers is in Arkansas. She's an angel mom. You know, we're concerned about the border security right now. That's really big in the news right now. So that was a huge part of her story. Her daughter was killed by an illegal and shouldn't have been in the country. And there's a whole chapter on angel families in the book. But then her grandbaby had been taken before her daughter was killed, had been taken by Child Protective Services for reasons should not have happened, and was adopted out to strangers. And then she became good friends with a senator in Arkansas. Your listeners may be familiar with the name Senator Linda Collins Smith. The last year of her life, they were really good friends, and they had uncovered some very damning evidence, and they were just about to expose it, and the senator was murdered just before the exposure was supposed to happen. So, you know, we hear media talk about the Hunter Biden's laptop and the Anthony Weiner's laptop. We need to be looking at Judge Phil Smith's computer. We know where it is. You have to read the book to find out. But I would love some journalists to be digging into that computer, because there's a lot of evidence they're going to find of some trafficking through the foster care system.
You're running for U.S. Senate in the state of Alabama. House. And that's you're in the state of Alabama.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask you why you're running for office, because I mean, I know you're an author and you're a speaker and you could be a journalist again if you wanted to. I'm pretty sure, not sure a liberal hack would have you, but I would. I most definitely would. So why are you running for office?
It's really because of the things that I saw as a journalist that I recognized that federal funding has a whole lot to do with this. You know, you follow the money and why are these crazy things happening, and you follow the money. So you can extrapolate if it's happening over here with the foster care adoption industry and child protective services, medical kidnapping, where else is it happening? And then I started looking at different policies and different things, and it's like, it's rampant. It's all over in our government. Federal funding to the states incentivizes the wrong behavior too often. And and they can do things that incentivize the right behavior, and we see that as well. So we need people up there that are looking at that and are digging into that, or concerned about the truth and really care about people. And the people need an advocate for them, to a true representation of the everyday people on the ground, our families, working people. The corporations and the big elites, they have their representation that they buy and pay for. But how about our government is supposed to be the people? We're supposed to have representation that hears and acts to protect the people and acts constitutionally.
Well, there's so many common sense approaches to this. Okay, so yeah, and you've heard follow the money. You've heard that.
Oh yeah.
So why can't folks in the position that you would like to be elected, why can't they follow the money? Because I promise you, if you can follow the money and who's making the money, you're going to be able to put an end at least part of the corruption that's happening right now.
Oh, I think so. You're exactly right. And it's a good question. I don't know why they're not, unless I feel like a lot of them are bought for, and they're going along to get along. And I don't know. Somebody wrote an article about me the other day and called me a mama bear. And I'm like, accurate? Yes. Yes. I will fight for you. Yes. I definitely see it as a compliment. Yeah. Don't mess with our kids. And there's so many nefarious forces that are messing with our kids as a whole of the country. You know, we heard the left and certain ones that I like living, so I don't want to be cited. Anyway, there. But they talked about it's for the children, and we're helping the children. It's like, no.
I run the other way. Every time somebody says that, I start running the other way, because I know it's not about the children at all.
Right. Now, for me, if you're going to fight for the children, you have to fight for the family. You have to fight for the whole family, because every child wants and needs the love of their parents. They need it. They want it from their biological parents. And occasionally that doesn't happen, and they can't have that. I mean, I was raised by my grandparents for good reason. So, I get that. But the desire and the need, the physiological, emotional need for the child is their biological parents. And so we need to fight for families, not just for the children. They get, do I do the pageant way? It's for the children. No, it really is. If you're fighting for the children, you're fighting for the family. You have to fight for the family unit. That means you've got to fight for good jobs to come to your area. That means you've got to have solid economy. That means that you've got to have border security, because I mean, you're fighting for the children, and you're allowing these people to come over here, and then somebody goes and murders their mom or their dad. That's not good for the children. That's not good for the family. So all of these things, it's all connected.
Oh, it always is. And I wanted to mention this. So this is in DeKalb County, I was told, actually from the Sheriff's Department. So they got a call that someone was driving really weird on I-59 going from Fort Payne heading towards Chattanooga. Well, the guy from the Sheriff's Department pulls the person over, and there were 3 young girls in the back seat of this guy's car. He was driving kind of sporadically weird like. He was probably yelling at them. Who knows what the heck he was doing. So the officer looked at the 3 young ladies in the back seat and asked them if they were okay. They couldn't speak English. They didn't know what the heck, and they were scared to death. So he knew something was up. Well, he hauls them all in. Come to find out, the guy was transporting these girls, young girls. They were under the age of 15. And so apparently there are perimeters, I guess, that to go from, say, Atlanta, Birmingham, then on to Chattanooga.
The I-20 corridor, the trafficking corridor.
Going there like that. So why can't that be vamped? Because they're going to stop me if I speed, and I'm a grandmother type. So I'm driving down the road. I'm going too fast. They can pull me over. And thank God for that one incident where they pulled this jerk over, and he had the 3 young girls in the back seat. But it looks like to me there could be some kind of traffic checks somehow.
I know of a spot, and I'm not going to say where, but on I-20 where they're regularly monitoring. I'm told that they're there fighting the trafficking, so that's good, and I see them there fairly frequently. So and if you can do it there, you can do it in other areas. So.
Well, these 3 girls, they had an interpreter who could speak Spanish, and then she was talking with the girls and kind of chilled them just a little bit. They were scared. I mean, of course. And
who knows what had already happened to them?
So they were told they were being brought to the United States for a better life, that they would be able to make money, they'd be able to have clothes, they'd be able to have a house or somewhere to live, a vehicle, whatever. They were told that. Well, when they get here, that's not what happened. There should be a clamp somehow on stopping all this nonsense.
Yeah. Absolutely. The trafficking, we're getting more and more attention paid to the trafficking. There's more and more demand by the people to stop the trafficking. So there's trafficking at the border, and there's trafficking of American children within our borders.
Well, with what President Trump has put into place, I think you're probably seeing a slowdown in people being brought over here. But no, where there's a will, there's a way, and people are finding a way. Yeah.
So, I mean, Child Protective Services, we know that the foster care system is the largest supplier of children for the child sex trafficking industry in America. That's established fact. So we can do things to reduce the supply. We need to be going after those who are doing the demand. That's prison, that's arresting these guys and throwing a book at them. We have that Alabama law that says if you're caught trafficking a minor in Alabama, if you're prosecuted, then you have life in prison without even the opportunity for parole, and that's good. We need that kind of stuff. We need people working on all levels, but then we need to stop children from going into the system that shouldn't be going. And then we're going to reduce some of that, and then they can focus on actually maybe getting some real help for the kids who do need the help. Because less than 16% of the kids that are taken for reasons of any kinds of abuse.
Well, the cost of adoption is just skyrocketed. I mean, it's huge. My son and daughter-in-law have been looking into adoption. It's incredible how much it costs, and then not only that, but how long it takes to adopt a child is incredibly long as well. Could there be better controls? Could there be some way to halt that cost?
There has to be, and then they've got to be making sure that we're only adopting out children who really need that help, because there are children that shouldn't be adopted out. And when families are truly fighting for their kids, and when they're working and trying to get them back and overcome any issues, we need to give them those opportunities. And maybe they needed some foster care to help while they are getting their life together, or maybe they were innocent in the first place and foster care was never needed, but they're there. So, as far as those who are adopting, that are trying to adopt, there's a great demand. We've got a high infertility, and there we go into the food supply and the environmental things that are affecting the fertility. So we have a greater demand. If we stopped having the demand of the traffickers to adopt the children, maybe then we'd have more of the children who actually are needing the help could be adopted by good, wonderful people. We've got to do a better job of vetting people because we're not doing a very good job.
Well, I would say that this has probably been going on for decades. Because
Clearly.
Mr. and Miss Parnell, wonderful folks. I used to wish we could live with them. I mean, these folks were just wonderful people, and they tried and never were able to adopt. They would have been the most wonderful, loving parents. Now, they believed in a little discipline there, not beating the kid up, but they believed in, like mom says no, the simple word no, you can't do this.
It's a complete sentence.
That's important right there to having a family life. So, but they were just wonderful people. And their house was really nice, and she kept it very clean. So the only thing that we knew of is they said that she was a diabetic, and I forgot what they said was wrong with him, had high blood pressure, I think. So the adoptive services decided they could not adopt a child. But then you see all this unnecessary. There are some freaks out there who are adopting kids right now. I mean, you're saying, I mentioned a few movie stars. I don't know, Angelina Jolie, I would think would not be the proper person for a kid to live with. And a few others that are on the Hollywood scene that I would think should not be raising children.
Yeah, and they seem to be able to do that just fine, to be able to get into that system. And we've learned that there was, during the Biden administration, there were funds set aside to enable the LGBTQ community to be able to adopt. They were facilitating fostering and adopting by that community. And we've seen in Alabama, I know back when I was covering some Shelby County stories, there were a lot of kids going to that community, and even when the parents didn't want them to go to that community, they were Christian based and they didn't believe in that, or they had grandparents or other relatives who wanted to take in those relatives, but they were being bypassed because the lesbian couple or the transgender couple wanted to adopt a child, and that's where the funding was. So again, what we were talking about earlier, what you incentivize, you enable. So we were incentivizing, our government was incentivizing putting the children in those kinds of homes. And I know that there are pedophiles who search out and seek. I remember doing an article on a guy, he was a libertarian, and he was running for, I don't remember if it was Congress or the Senate in Virginia. And we found that this disgusting stuff he had posted in this group, and he was advising pedophiles how to foster and adopt, and you could choose the sex of the child that you wanted to use as your sex toy. Actually, he used a much more vulgar term, and these were writings that he had published. And he was running for office.
Is this guy not under a jail cell right now?
No, I don't think he ever went to jail. He did drop out he didn't win the election, but thankfully. But yeah, so I mean, they walk among us. It's frightening. It's very scary.
What should the process be? Okay. Let me give you an instance. So let's just say maybe the daughter or the son got into drugs, they were abusing the children, whatever, and they do need to be taken away from the kids until they can get their act together. You know what I mean? I totally believe that. So should maybe the services vet out maybe her parents or his parents to make sure they're okay, or maybe even branch out to brothers and sisters to see.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the Family First Act literally says, and Trump signed this into law in 2020, that he said that, or it says that the children should go to relatives as a first option. And it's been the policy of CAPTA, or no, it's written into CAPTA since 1974. It's written into these laws, but they're not following that. But the reason they're not following that is because the money doesn't flow. All the bonuses and all the funding is geared towards stranger adoption and stranger fostering. So when an agency places those children with family members, they're not getting as much funding. And I cannot tell you how many times, it was a whole lot of stories where these families had lots of family members that were, some of them would adopt kids from the system themselves, or they were foster parents themselves, but they wouldn't allow them to have their own family member. So we saw that a lot, where the social workers were just writing the report that no suitable relative was found. And the judge just rubber stamps it and says, okay, well, there's no suitable relatives found, so Joe Blow over here gets to have the kids. Happens all the time.
I've seen this happen. Okay, so let's just say mom and dad have a new baby. They already have 2 children. So so they have a baby. Well, they don't let their kid, while mom's in the hospital having the baby, they don't let the kid stay with some unknown person they've never met before in their entire life. The kid usually stays with a grandparent or stays with an aunt and uncle, something like that.
Or even if they're not around, maybe somebody at their church that they know well, that they trust. Yes.
Yeah, it's not just some unknown person that,
Right.
you've never been vetted.
Right. And that the children know. The children are comfortable with them.
Yeah, I remember when my sister was being born. I was 7. My brother was 6. Well, we went to my grandparents' house.
Of course.
When she was being born, there was no thought that I would have stayed at Mr. and Ms. Parnell's house, though. I would have stayed. But being with someone I knew made life a little more comfortable.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
As well.
Right.
So to me, that sounds like that's for the children when you're doing things like that. If you're trying to find a child a place to live outside of mom and dad who may have wrecked their lives, which it happens, but you try to find some. But now, what if the whole family's that way? I mean, what if it's a generational thing?
And that does happen. Sometimes there's real reasons why the parents of the children are on drugs, and there's a generational. It's been going on for a long time, and everybody in the clan. Okay, well. Is there somebody in their community that they know, that they already know? Maybe somebody from school, maybe their friends. I mean, we actually took in a young lady who was my daughter's friend one time. They said, well, there was a situation and she was going to be put in foster care, and she wanted to know if she could come stay with us. And we were like, of course, absolutely. Absolutely. It wasn't even a second thought. Yeah. And it wasn't, we got to have money for this, money for that. I was like, no, we made do. We provided. We treated her like one of ours. And when you are like that, I think that's community, being involved in community. Now, sometimes you do have the difficult situations where there is no community. They're not involved in their community. And that does make it hard. So just a word to parents, be involved, have people around you. Get involved with your community, with your church, with other people around you. So don't be alone. Don't do it alone.
I promise you, there's some wonderful people in this community. So if you were having a problem, I'm pretty sure they'd take you in just like you did. So and we would take somebody in like that.
And when her mom got her back, we had met up at McDonald's for the kids to hang out, and the mom and I just stood in the parking lot and just cried together because she got her baby back. And I mean, she wasn't a baby, she was a teenager then, but she got her back, and I was ecstatic for her.
This just has a wonderful, beautiful story right there that you had a part of. And so I want to thank you for that. We're going to have to go into a commercial break, but before we go in, we're going to have to take 2 breaks. We've got some new sponsors. But before we go into break, I just wanted to mention this, which is just a really cool story. And this is, and again, it happened back in the day, back when I was a kid. So there was a girl that her dad passed away. He was involved in a car wreck, died. And so the mom just couldn't provide. So people in the community got together and help them out. So, that sometimes all you got to do is just, and by the way, if somebody offers you something, take it. It's a gift. They want to give it to you.
Right. Right. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. And these are good, solid Alabama values, Southern values. You're in South Carolina. These are good, solid values of being there for each other, supporting each other, helping each other out. That's what we should do, instead of relying on the government, and the government takes over, and there's not a situation that they can't make worse.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, there is. Let's go into a break. We'll be right back in just a few minutes.
Okay.
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer
yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
We are back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television talk show where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday. I sure do appreciate it. You can find us on television. You can find us on the radio, 92.9. And that's on WZLA Radio, the biggest country station in South Carolina. So we're proud to be part of that as well. But again, thank you so much. We have a couple of new sponsors. I wanted to talk about them, Honey Baked Ham. And I'm pretty sure you got your ham on Thanksgiving. Christmas is coming up. It's a good time to get it as well. There's another, and I had never heard of this place until we moved to South Carolina. And I think there's one in Huntsville, Alabama, but it's called the Eggs Up Grill. So what we do is we give away, we always give away stuff on this show. So we've been doing that for a long time. So we've added two new ones right here to Abbeville. And one is the Eggs Up Grill. And it's a $25 gift card every single Friday and a $25 gift certificate to Honey Baked Ham. But I wanted to mention Eggs Up Grill. And they serve lunch and breakfast. And you can get, if you would like to have breakfast at lunchtime, you can do that as well. So go ahead and check them out. There is one in Huntsville as well. And I think they're going to open up about 100 stores in 2026. So they've got some ambitious things going on right now. So we're glad to be part of that team as well. But again, thank you so much for watching. I've got Terri LaPoint with me right now. And Terri, you got a heart for the kids. And I'm talking a genuine heart for the kids. And it's really easy to see that you do. What are some other things you're going to be, because I know there's a lot of things that need to be corrected. What are some more reasons you're running for office?
One of the things that I think 2020 made very clear to the entire nation is we really don't have medical freedom like we thought we had. We're America, the land of the free, the home of the brave. You refuse to take a shot, you can lose your job, you can lose everything you've got, you can lose your kids. You want to make a medical decision one way or another, you can lose your kids. There's the mask mandates, all of these things. We don't really truly have medical freedom in America. So we need to, I definitely want to work on those kinds of things. There's so much. I want to, the veterans and military, something that they're not talking about a lot is a lot of the veteran suicide is connected with family court, fighting for their kids. I talk about that in my book as well. Purple Heart recipient, the grandfather was a Purple Heart recipient, served his country, and said he'd never, ever dreamed that he would be fighting such a big war over his own grandchild in America. Mm-hmm. So that's something we've got to look at. Policies that will help families. I think we could do a lot by bringing down predatory interest rates. Credit cards, $35 or 35% interest rates. That is really high, but it's happening. And so families just trying to get back on their feet after some struggles. Maybe they lost their job because they wouldn't get a shot, and they're trying to get back on their feet because they were using all their credit cards to feed their family and heat their house during all of that, and they're struggling, and they're paying on their bill every month. They're faithfully paying, but with that interest rate, they'll never get it down there. So those are some things that we can do. Just common sense. You ask, what do we want to do? I want to go up there and vote for common sense and promote bills that are common sense. The first bill, though, that I'm going to file is the Justina's Law. On day one, the first day that I'm able to file a bill, I'm going to file Justina's Law, which was originally filed back in 2014 by Representative Michelle Bachmann of the Tea Party fame, but it went nowhere because people didn't realize it was happening. But I can assure you, people do know it's happening. And now, so the bill, it just says that you can't use federal funds to essentially use foster kids as lab rats. So, yeah, common sense bills, things that mama bears and papa bears around this country are like, okay, yeah, let's do that. These simple things. Let's not be relaxing the vetting standards on refugees coming from a foreign country that these people, maybe they did help our soldiers, and maybe they did, but we can't relax the standards to in order to have them coming to our country and being on our streets, because Washington D.C., we saw the tragedy the day before Thanksgiving that should never have happened. Mm-hmm. Coach Trevor talks about banning Sharia law. Okay, yeah, I'm down with that. Let's ban Sharia law. We have a constitution, we have a Supreme Court, we have a legislator. Sharia law has no place in that.
Okay. Wait, so you just brought something else up. Okay, so we have people who are serving the United States government who believe in these people do not agree with the American way whatsoever. Should those people even be in office?
They should no, they shouldn't. You take an oath, don't they take an oath to uphold the Constitution? They used to. One would assume that should be something you should do. At the very least, if you are going to be a representative for people in the United States of America, then you should represent the people of the United States of America and the Constitution on which this nation is founded. This is basic. This is baseline. This is not even asking very much of them. I think the very absolute bottom minimum that we should be demanding of all of our elected officials is that you support the Constitution and will uphold those laws. Sharia law is not that.
Okay, I want to talk to the women's livers out there, okay? I believe women have rights too. I really do. But in the past few years, I think we've went back 100 years. But the women livers who were loud and, let's let women roar, all that kind of stuff, are kind of quiet when it comes to boys playing in women's sports and stuff like that. Would that not be a reason for you to have a soundboard? If you're a women's liver, Am I saying this the wrong way?
Right. Well, I think you are. Women fought and fought and fought for the right to vote, for the right to have our voices heard, for the right to play in women's sports. And then the women are just standing back like their sports are being taken over by men dressed up in a costume. And I don't care if they cut it off or not, but if they're biologically a male, they have no business playing in women's sports. You know, I'm part of the Republican women clubs, and we were very quick to say, okay, you know, in my club anyway,
yeah,
because only women can vote. Men can come, they can be associate members, we can listen to their voice or whatever, but they're not allowed to vote. They're not allowed to be a member. So okay,
a woman's club, right?
It is a woman's club. So, you know, if you're dressed up in a dress, I'm not playing with your delusion. I mean, I'm just not. I mean, that it is delusional. Your cells, every cell in your body says a male is a male or a female is a female. And I'm you know, I remember I talked about truth a while ago. I'm not interested in perpetuating untruth. So let's tell the truth. A man, you're a man. A woman is a woman, and the men need to stay out of women's sports.
It's not difficult at all. Bill and I went to San Antonio, Texas for our wedding anniversary a couple of years ago. And so we went to the hotel with the front desk, and from you know, walking in the door, looked like a pretty girl sitting up there behind the desk.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as I got closer, I saw the 5 o'clock shadow.
Oh dear.
Then when he opened his mouth, I knew it was a boy dressed up like a girl. Had on feminine clothes, makeup, the pretty eyelashes, all that stuff, you know. That was a boy. That was no doubt to me. Just looking at him, it was still a boy. And then again, when he opened his mouth, it was a boy's voice.
Now, it doesn't mean that these people don't have value, that they're not, that God doesn't love them, because God does love them. But let's tell the truth, and maybe there's a reason, maybe there's something that they need some help with. Maybe they really need some help. They need to know that, you know, that they are loved. Okay, we can do all that without allowing the men in the girls' locker room or the teenage boys in the sleepovers at the Huntsville Space and Rocket Center at Space Camp. These kinds of things, because devil's advocate, say I'm all for these people and them having their place or whatever. The pedophiles go right behind them, and the guy says, oh, well, I'm a girl, and I'm going to go in the girl's restroom. And they follow your girl into the girl's restroom and rape her because, you know, that's what they are. They're just pretending. Or the teenage guy's like, ooh, yeah, I'm going to call myself a girl today and go in there and just look at all the girls changing clothes. I mean, we all said that, and they made fun of us. But, I mean, hello, come on. This is common sense again.
Every boy that I went to school with, I just promise you, they would have done that. They would have said, I'm a girl today. Mm-hmm. They would have winked at each other, and they would have taken turns going into our locker room. I mean, that would have just happened. It just would have. But now the boy who was dressed up like a girl in San Antonio, I'm just telling you, if he gets on a wrestling team, a girls' wrestling team, he's going to beat the crap out of all of them.
Right.
He will, because I'm admitting this. He's stronger.
Yeah, they are. They absolutely are. Physically. I'm married to a firefighter, and the man's a beast. He's so strong. You know, they're just. I'm
not going to go against the guy wrestling. I'm just not, because they're going to win.
No. Right. Boxing, any of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'd like to shift gears for a second and talk about something that I found out, or a decision that came down a little while back. Well, was it last week? The week before that? I don't know if you heard this. In New Jersey, a New Jersey court had some common sense, and they ruled that the science behind shaken baby syndrome was unreliable. Had you heard about that?
No, I hadn't.
So, we've all been taught about shaken baby syndrome, that you can shake a baby so hard that you're causing these symptoms. And, we've had these campaigns telling us not to shake our babies, and really you shouldn't. Yeah. But what I found, this was interesting. When I was covering stories for medical kidnap, I would see these parents accused of that. Their child, a lot of times it would be a child that had stopped breathing or something was going on, and then they would I'll use my phone as an example. They would kind of shake their baby a little bit. It's like, wake up, baby. But then they would be accused of really shaking their baby and abusing them, and they still didn't even know what was wrong with their child. So I thought this was interesting, and the stories that I was hearing, but I kept on digging, and the New Jersey court found was a lot of the same information that I had discovered over the years, that the foundation for the shaken baby syndrome theory was not sound. It wasn't sound science. It started with 1968. There was a doctor, hang on, I'll tell you his name. Dr. Ayub Omaya in 1968. It's the underlying study. It was about whiplash, and it used crash test monkeys. Okay, monkeys. And then a couple years later, there were doctors, Dr. Caffey, and some others, that around 1974, when we started Child Protective Services, their work figured into why we have Child Protective Services in the first place. So that what they did was they kind of extrapolated from that, and they said, well, you can shake a baby so hard that you can cause, and they call it the triad of symptoms: subdural hematoma, or brain swelling, retinal hemorrhaging in the eyes, and brain bleeding. So if you have that triad of symptoms, doctors were saying that it was shaken baby syndrome. But the thing is, if you think about the way I was shaking, that if you're shaking a baby so hard that you're causing those things to happen, what would happen to the baby's neck?
Well, you could break the baby's neck.
You would think, right? You have to support the baby's neck. That's what we're taught to do, because their necks aren't even that strong. There would be no injuries to the baby's necks. These would be parents with no history of violence. Nobody saw them do it, and there was no organ damage. There was nothing, but they would have these symptoms, and they would call it shaken baby syndrome. We've got a guy in Texas on death row for this right now. We've got people in Alabama in prison. I'm sure there are people in South Carolina in prison, all over America in prison, people that lose their kids over shaken baby syndrome, but they didn't do it. It's the only crime that's really not been witnessed. Now, people have seen people shake babies, but they don't have the symptoms, the triad of symptoms. Or they've had the triad of symptoms, but nobody saw them shake the baby. So, I mean, I had a lawyer point that out to me, and I thought, well, that's odd, because every crime is witnessed, every kind of crime is witnessed, but this one's never been witnessed. I remember doing a lot of work looking into Dr. Wayne Squire. She was a doctor over in the United Kingdom, and she would testify against parents for shaken baby syndrome. That was part of what she did. Well, she started working, she was a neuropathologist. She was one of the top neuropathologists in the world. And she started working with another colleague and doing some autopsies on babies' brains. And she said, the things that I've been taught and I've taught, that's not what I'm seeing in front of me in these autopsies. And she started rethinking things, that there's something else going on here. Now, I found out that about one out of four healthy, normal newborns have retinal hemorrhaging. Almost half of newborns, healthy newborns, have some kind of brain swelling. The subdural hematoma. Sorry, the subdural hematoma. And that the numbers are higher in the babies when you have Pitocin-induced or Cytotec-induced labor, or forceps delivery, or vacuum extractor. And a lot of these parents, they had a difficult birth. They had things going on. So these symptoms could be there, and then the doctors would say that, okay, well, you had this was shaken baby.
And it could be something that actually happened right in childbirth.
Right. Now, according to the American Academy of Pediatrics, it was fascinating. They determined, use air quotes here, determined that all of these thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of cases of these things happening resolved by about 6 weeks, 2 months. So if you see it after 6 weeks or 2 months, then it is shaken baby syndrome. Mm-hmm. Well, there's an emergency room doctor, trauma doctor that I looked at his work. It was involved with several parents whose stories I covered. And he said, you can cause a rebleed. If there was bleeding in the brain bleeding early on from the birth, if some of that had happened, then there are other things mechanical that could cause a rebleed, like a short fall, which child abuse pediatricians say can't cause that, but it can, and there's studies to show that. It could be projectile vomiting. You got a baby with severe reflux and they're doing that projectile vomiting, that can cause a rebleed in the brain. Or even vaccines. I'm not even talking about the vaccines themselves. I mean, and that's definitely a lot of shaken baby syndrome happens within 24, 48 hours of shots. And parents a lot of times don't even make that connection. But I saw that over and over and over. But just even the mechanical, you give the baby a shot, you're poking them with the needle and they start crying. And if they're crying intensely, that can actually even cause a rebleed. So this kind of stuff is being ignored. And what I've seen many, many times as child abuse pediatricians who are on staff at all of our children's hospitals, they would testify and tell the courts and the social workers that this is abuse. It can only be abuse. The only way this happened is severe abuse. So these parents were being prosecuted. But then there were experts. There were real medical experts, because these child abuse pediatricians, remember, are not experts in anything. And they're funded through Health and Human Services. So again, back to the federal funding. But the real medical experts in a condition that these children would have would say, no, there's something else going on here. There's something else that happened. And they would testify as to what happened, what the medical condition was, or whatever it was. And these experts would be ignored by the courts and by the social workers. So what New Jersey did was it dug into the biomechanical studies of research that was the foundation of the whole shaken baby syndrome, because they said it would all go back to that. And it was the data didn't match what the conclusions were. And that doctor in 1968 that I told you about, where this all started with the monkey studies, 30 years later, he actually said and came out publicly and said, look, they're using my study as the basis for this whole shaken baby stuff. And this isn't the same thing. This isn't what this is. This is invalid to use that study to show what they're saying happened, because it can't. And they found, actually, they took some like linebackers, some football players, and they had them shaking some dolls that were specifically made to be like the way a baby would be. You know what they found? They couldn't shake the baby hard enough to cause those symptoms.
A big, brutal football player.
And you got a postpartum mom supposedly causing this, or a dad.
I remember after I had mine, I was weak. I mean, I couldn't have shaken a baby. Let's go into another commercial break. We're going to return in just a few minutes. Everybody hanging out. Let me ask you a little bit more about this. Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. Okay, we are back to the break. Thank you so much for watching. Terri LaPoint is with me right now, and I've got a question for you.
Okay.
So about 7 minutes left in the segment, by the way.
Okay.
So I have asthma, and
Okay.
thank God I started to, and I'm going to tell everybody out there who has asthma, you don't have to take medications and stuff like that. If you'll take ginger root, that has helped me more than anything. And you need to get it powdered or you get it chopped up really good, and you can do it in a smoothie. You can make a tea out of it, whatever you want to do. If you've got asthma, if you have kids who have asthma, that works. Okay, so before I started taking this, and you didn't know me back then, okay, so I was hosting a talk show. I never knew at any given moment when I might start hacking my head off, coughing.
Oh dear.
I mean, it would just happen all the time, just whatever. I could count on at least one show. Part of it would have to leave early for a commercial break. Okay, so one time I coughed so hard, it was at night, and scared Phil to death. He didn't know what was happening to me. I woke up the next morning and I had a black eye from coughing so hard. So you made me think about that. Could maybe like a baby who has maybe born with asthma or something like that? Because I'm just telling you, you can have asthma so bad. I hope I never get a coughing jag like that again.
Yeah.
That you can cough so hard that you feel like your head is about to explode. I think that could cause an issue.
I would think it could. And just, I was thinking about, have you ever cried so hard that you have the little red things like under it, like, and in your eyes are just like little red spots, just crying really hard. I mean, we can do that as an adult. So sometimes things aren't as malevolent as the system may think they are. But you got to remember, these child abuse pediatricians are funded through Health and Human Services, and it's their confirmation bias is to find abuse. I mean, they're it's not even their confirmation bias, it's their reason for existing. Mm-hmm. So they tend to find abuse where none exists. I remember the Texas Policy Foundation did a white paper back in 2018, and they found so much of the same things, conclusions that I had found. But one of the things that they did was they found that when a child abuse pediatrician was involved, something like 80% of the cases referred to them were confirmed as abuse, whereas when they weren't involved and had regular doctors that maybe were experts in the conditions that the child had, abuse was only confirmed in about 22% of those cases.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you a question about something else, because okay. So I knew a mother, she was a single mom, and she had a really hard time raising this girl. And the girl just, the girl would threaten, I'm going to call, the social services on you. And say, and she would just say that. Like she would want to go somewhere, and she was like 15 years old. She was going to go somewhere. Well, the mother would say no. And then she would say, well, I'm going to call social services and tell them that you abused me. Yeah, I remember saying, I'd give her a reason to call social service.
Right.
I probably would. So I mean, how can they really tell whether it's just a rotten kid like this girl was? Now she's shutting her life up now. She's totally different than she was. She's a teenager. But I'm just saying, how can you know for sure Are there questions that you can ask this kid just to make sure they're just not trying to be a ruffian and just to get their way to go wild?
Well, and sometimes what these kids will admit, and they'll say, oh, I made that up. And I know of a specific case. The dad is now a reporter and does a show, and she made this up so she could go to a party. I think I may have told you about that. And she realized after things weren't going the way she expected them to do, and she was not allowed to go home. She was like, "Oh, okay, I'm really sorry. I made that all up, and I won't do it again. I'm sorry. But no, the damage was done, and she never went back home. So I think that there are things we've got to be able to do some better. Asking questions of these kids, but when the person, common sense, but when the person who is asking the questions has an agenda of finding kids to correct, what are you gonna have? So sometimes that figures into it. And then, but on the other hand, how many kids who are truly abused that everybody knows is being abused and they don't intervene? Mm-hmm. We've all heard those stories. I think every school teacher I've ever talked to has told me, nurses, they will tell you, neighbors, people in churches, that these people down the street, everybody knows that they are abusing their child. Nobody does anything about it. And I found out why. It took me a while to figure out why. And then I had a whistleblower confirm this, that those children are considered damaged goods who are not adoptable. So federal funding is incentivizing the adopting them out, and that's what they're looking for is children that can be adopted out. What's going to be your best merchandise? And these terms are disgusting to me to hear come out of my mouth, but it is the way the system thinks. So you've got to, that's what I'm saying here is they consider the kids as the commodities, the merchandise. So they want the kids that are not damaged goods. They want the kids that are marketable, that are saleable, that are adoptable. The judges will even ask, it's in my book, the judge will ask, is this child adoptable? Is this child adoptable? That's what they're looking for because that's where the funding is. So they don't want to help the kids who are truly in need of help. The reason that taxpayers justify this money going to them, who wants to pay? We don't want to pay traffickers. We don't want to pay kidnappers to destroy good, innocent families. But we do want to contribute, and we'll even make donations and sacrifice to raise funds and do fundraisers to help a child that's being truly abused. So the system exists for a lie.
We're going to have to call it a day. Tell folks how they can get in contact with you if they would like to give to your campaign, maybe volunteer.
Yes, join the LaPoint Freedom Force. We definitely need some help there, and would appreciate you guys. The website is Terri LaPoint for Congress.com, and that's Terri with an I. There's no E on LaPoint. TERRI. Huh?
2 R's.
2 R's. TERRILAPOINT. The word spelled out for. FOR Congress.com, or I'm on Facebook. That's where I am the most is Terri LaPoint, my Facebook, and there's a Terri LaPoint for Congress Facebook page as well. But I'm very active there. You can reach me there. You can call me. Should I give my number?
There you go. Go ahead.
All right, 205-612-9804. And then my email is my name, Terri LaPoint @protonmail.com.
There you go. Terri LaPoint for Congress. Everybody going ahead and get out there and vote for her. And go vote, by the way. Don't just sit on the wayside. Get out there and vote.
May 19th is the election, is the primary.
Got to do it, guys. By the way, thank you so much for watching. Continue sending email. I love them. Donna at donnasedge.com. Donna at donnasedge.com. We're talking to you guys soon.